Howdy! Welcome. It is World Mission Update. My name is Rusty Aries. That guy there, he's Greg Kelley. He's the CEO of World Mission. Do us a favor, hit that subscribe button right now. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Just get her done. Hit the subscribe button and the notification button so you can find out every time a brand new World Mission Update show comes up. So, Greg, we're talking about going on another adventure together. Yeah. What are you thinking about this time?
Buddy, I thought it would be a treat for us to head to the Middle East, and the gateway to the Middle East and North Africa is Egypt. So we've got some amazing things going on in Cairo. So that's
now, are you noticing my hesitation look face yet? Have you know? Because last time I was there, I was in Israel and was going to go. I was with I was doing a radio program, and the woman that did news with me said, "Hey, let's just we're at this place." I can't remember the name of the town now. It's the very bottom of Israel. What's it called? Anyway, it doesn't matter. So it's right where Egypt is. So let's just go. We'll get our passport stamped, and that'll be it. And we went in, and then I took a picture of the Welcome to Egypt sign, and then all these guys came in, and then they took our passports, and they were calling me an Israeli spy, and they held us for like 2 or 3 hours. It was a little bit not fun.
Yeah, that's a little dicey there. And, you know, one of our big works is in Lebanon because of the Syrian refugees that have come across the border there. So trying to get into Lebanon, which borders of course, Egypt is to that south, and then Lebanon is their border to the north. They don't get along too good, Lebanon and Israel. So trying to get into Lebanon, you sort of get the interrogation as American, you know, what are your ties to Israel? So it's that whole area, you know, just so the dynamics there are pretty interesting. But
he took my tape recorder, and I'd spent a week in Israel interviewing, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu and stuff, and he's listening to the tape. Oh. It did not go over well. Eilat is the name of the town. Eilat. Okay. It's on the bottom of Israel and borders Egypt, and then borders what's the other one right over there? I'm blanking. Jordan, yeah. And then 20 kilometers from Jordan is Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
They don't like that. Good luck getting in there. That place is, they're not. So you're going deep into difficult places. This is not, you know, again, people think, you're just a Christian minister and missionary just going around. It's not that easy.
You know, these countries that we're talking about in North Africa. So you've got when you start going from Egypt and then you go to the west, you're talking about Syria. You're talking about Algeria. You're talking about Tunisia. You're talking about Morocco, Mauritania, and then, you know, on into West Africa. But you're talking about all these countries, Rusty, are literally less than 1% Christian. They're heavily, heavily Muslim. Of course, the Sahara Desert runs through. The population centers aren't massive, but, you know, if you're talking about 10 million people and, you know, a couple thousand Christians in some cases, I mean, that's like the gospel has not been able to penetrate these areas. So to go into an Algeria or a Syria or a Tunisia and do some kind of a mass outreach is probably not a great idea. However, you can have participation in Egypt, in Cairo, and have leaders come there and be equipped and encouraged as they're trying to minister to those areas. So not to lay out our entire strategy, but that's kind of the idea. You need to leverage some of these countries as you're talking about the Saudi Arabias of the world and the Jordans of the world, and just figure out where are friendlies at, where can you share the gospel, where can you raise up leaders, and what's kind of a launching pad. And Egypt becomes very strategic.
And the only reason I bring this up is because Greg will never say it, but there's so many times where guys like Greg are putting their lives on the line to get the word of God out, and it's taken for granted a lot of times, and he'll downplay it. But I'm going to tell you the truth. And this, going to Egypt, doing what he's doing is scary. And so that's why we ask for your help, because it's not easy. And in a lot of places, you are not wanted. But you've got to go, and it's a great thing. And that's why I ask you to go to worldmission.cc and see where you can help, if you would, please. That's worldmission.cc. All right, you're making some progress in some other places, though. You wanted to talk about where today?
Yeah, today we're just going to head over to Nigeria and just spend a little time talking about we like to talk about sort of the big picture, talk about some history things. But, Rusty, when we also do the World Mission Update, you and I very regularly are talking about sort of frequent modern happenings, things that are happening right now.
Yeah.
And that's what's going on in Nigeria. Nigeria is a very strategic country when we're talking about not even just Africa, although it's the most populated country in the entire continent of Africa. That alone makes it strategic. But you've got an Islamic Christianity dynamic that is unique almost to anywhere in the world. And as a result of that, as we have discussed, that 10th parallel just north of the equator, that is where the hostilities of Islam and Christianity collide. And there's been a lot of very recent happenings, including a bunch of young people being kidnapped in that northern part of Nigeria.
Okay, you want to show us on the map where we're talking about? You've got that map behind you?
So we're in West Africa. So if you were to take Africa here and treat it as a gun, okay, think of it, it's an upside down gun. Where's the trigger at? Right there. Nigeria would be the trigger. So it's right here in the beginning of, Nigeria is known to be the start of West Africa. So it's the furthest eastern part of West Africa, and then everywhere west of that. So it's incredibly influential. It's a place that, as I said, has a tremendous presence of Christianity. Half of the country is Christian, but the other half is Muslim. It's basically broken, almost 50-50 Christian Muslim. But not only is it broken from a numerical standpoint, and you're talking about 200 million people. I mean, it's up 2/3 the size of the United States of America. But it's also geographically broken up. Northern part is entirely Muslim, and the southern part is almost entirely Christian. So it's a very interesting dynamic. And as I said, in that middle zone is where a lot of the conflict takes place.
Okay. You've sent me some pictures you want us to take a look at. What is it that we're looking at here, and what has got your attention? What do you want to show us today?
So what we've got some school children, and these are the areas. It's just a few miles away from where these pictures were taken is where the most recent kidnappings happened. So you've got, all of us are familiar with back in 2014, the whole, I think it was like 275 schoolgirls were taken by Boko Haram. That's really when they, in a very significant way, came on the scene from a global perspective.
That was you had the Obamas, and there was that big hashtag, save the girls, and that kind of stuff.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think when you hear that, it's just so shocking when you're talking about the kidnapping of them. Now, it was devastating on so many levels, Rusty. I actually had the opportunity to meet some of the families. And I met one of the family members of the young ladies that was kidnapped, and he told me that about 36 of the parents of these girls who had been kidnapped had either been seriously hospitalized for illness or died of heart disease, heart attacks. Literally, he said it was literally from a broken heart that I can't even imagine it. I mean, if my daughter were kidnapped, I mean, just think of in not just kidnapped, but kidnapped by savages. Right. I mean, Boko Haram are a bunch of thugs, radical Muslim group that the name Boko Haram literally stands for Western education is evil. That's their premise of existence.
And they take little boys and train them at 10, 11 years old how to murder people, right?
They do the most horrific things as they're taking out these villages in the northern part, mainly targeting anything that is sympathetic towards Western education, which, by the way, may include moderate Muslims. As crazy as that sounds, this is not, although it's primarily targeting Christians, that anyone who gets in their way of not embracing their radical ideology is a target of theirs. And so these schoolgirls were targeted. So it's in that vein that the kidnappings have continued. And even since December, they say there's over 765 students that have been kidnapped in northern Nigeria area. So, I mean, just think of the trauma. Now, some of them have returned, but many have not. And so you've got these, I don't want to say they're copycats, but in a lot of ways, what's happened is the government of Nigeria has not held these people accountable. So it's actually gone beyond Boko Haram, where it's just literally bandits who are going in that now, by the way, they're heavily armed. Wow. So they overwhelm any local police force and they go into these schools and they take these kids out by the dozens.
Is that what these kids are? These kids are ones that are they targets, or have they been targeted, or who are these children that we're looking at?
So the kids are in a nearby town. So the fear is that if we don't put some kind of a detriment, then this becomes what I would say is a soft target. And so these bandits and Boko Haram, that's what they're looking for. They're looking for places. If they're going to go in and take, again, we talked about one instance recently of 300 young people being taken. Wow. That takes a pretty big operation. Lots of vehicles are involved. Lots of armory is involved. Word's going to get out. So they have to do it fairly, quickly, so they're not caught. And so they're looking for soft targets. They're looking for schools that don't have any fencing around it. So these schools are partners of ours that are raising up really what amounts to the next generation of missionaries. These people, young people, are being taught the gospel. They're being trained. In many instances, they're becoming missionaries.
Right. I have another picture here of a bunch of, is that the group you're talking about? They all got blue shirts on and looks like they're part of World Mission to me.
Yeah, they are precious, serving and growing in the knowledge of the Lord, and really have a heart for ministry. So, when we talk about outreach, Rusty, we talk so much about, it's the seed of the gospel. And then it's the watering of the gospel. And then it's the harvest, which the Lord is part of. But what we don't talk enough about is the preservation of the harvest. I mean, it just doesn't make a lot of sense to go out there and have all these people, no matter where you're at, hey, I'm coming to know Jesus, I know the Lord, and then not recognize the hostile environment they're in and preserve the harvest. And that's right. Exactly what we're talking about here, is the preservation of the harvest. So we're trying to build these walls around these schools that will discourage the bandits or Boko Haram from targeting these schools that right now are incredibly vulnerable. So
and that's not something I think of World Mission doing, building fences around people. That's just not, I would think, normally your thing.
That's not our thing. Mainly, we're not doing it. So here's World Mission's approach, Rusty. Every place we go, the treasure is being utilized. So we've distributed more treasures in Nigeria than any country in the continent of Africa. And so we are all about getting the gospel in there. But at the same time, we listen to the field. So we listen to our partners in the field. We don't call the shots here in Grand Rapids, Michigan and say, here's what we need to do. Here's what is Nigeria. Yes,
you guys are going to do what we tell you to do in Nigeria. Yeah, that's not you guys. No.
A lot of times in the West, I'm sorry, but we can adopt that mindset and think, here, we're just going to give you the orders and you do what we say. That's not World Mission. So we listen to our national partners and they tell us, a water well is required here. A medical outreach is required here. Humanitarian aid. And in this case, they're telling us, hey, we got all these Christians, these young people that have come to know Jesus that we're mentoring to become missionaries, and we need to preserve that. It's very strategic for the long haul of making disciples. And so we respond. It's not like we take everything on, but when we view it very strategic, in the big picture of making disciples of all nations, which is what Jesus has called us to, you better believe it. We'll be creative as we need to be to have the proper footprint in that country.
I love that. All right, you've got a group of kids all lined up here at the school, it looks like. This is just kind of getting them educated?
Yep, exactly. A lot of the teachers are pouring their lives in. Now, I mean, just imagine if you had been in their shoes, and here we are, just a few weeks ago, knowing that maybe even some of your friends were some of the victims who had been kidnapped. Just think how terrifying that would be. Wondering, are we going to be next? Because these are boarding schools. And so it's not like they're coming in there from 9 until 3 and then going home. Many of these kids are maybe 50, 60, 800 miles away from home, and their parents are just trying to take advantage of this opportunity to invest in their future. So you're very vulnerable at night. You're just sleeping in these, open barracks, essentially. So by putting a wall around there, that is going to help just with their attitude, with their mentality. It's going to take away the fear of, oh my gosh, when are they going to come and take me? So we're really excited about the opportunity to, and the Lord's already helped us raise about 70% of the funds that we need to. We need to raise about $10,000 for each one of those fences. to put it around. There's a couple different locations, so we're well on our way. Thanks to generosity of supporters.
Well, that's awesome, and we'd like to ask for your support too. I mean, think of just a few dollars, how far that goes in a place like that. And we're talking about literally saving the lives of children from terrorists and rape and murder and being taught to be murderers themselves. I mean, the worst things you can think of. That's what this Boko Haram group does, and World Mission is out there helping the potential victims not to be victimized. So if you would please go to worldmission.cc, and see where you can help. There's a donation button in there, and you can donate whatever you're called to give to make a big, big difference in a place like that. Greg?
Yeah. So, these young people are being kidnapped for a ransom, right? And think of the absolute opposite of that as our opportunity to invest gospel into this area. I just can't think of a more dramatic opposites, opposing forces, Rusty, good and evil going on in the same area. And that's our opportunity. But whether we're there or whether we're participating from afar, it all works together. And that's the beauty of our partners here with the World Mission Update, that you can participate. You can have an intimate impact on the life of a young person in Nigeria. And we're so grateful for you.
Absolutely. So please go to worldmission.cc, see where you can make a difference, and please do so right away. It makes more difference than you could ever imagine. Also, please subscribe to the program and share it. Hit that little subscription notification and also a little bell next to it that notifies you every time a brand new World Mission update is released. We appreciate you. Thank you so much. May God bless you and your family. Until next time, I'm Rusty Humphreys for Greg Kelley, and this is the World Mission Update.